Now we head to the Arctic facility. This stage takes you from the polar ice caps to the icy sea floor. Hop from one floating segment of ice to the next, but try not to slide off. It can be quite difficult to navigate on top of the ice, so be careful and try not to rush. Eventually you should come across the icy slopes with wind wheels blowing frozen winds. These gusts will try to blow you off. With the dash ability at hand, you can easily charge through. Once you enter the underwater segment, you will notice that you move a lot slower, and your reaction time is delayed by half a second. This gets a bit irritating when ice chunks begin to fall on you. Time your dashes and you should be just fine. When facing the Octave Quarian, take out his tentacles with the boomerang scythe. Once all the tentacles are gone, the mini-boss will be just a simple pea shooter. Take it out with a charge shot and proceed forth. Dash up the wall and avoid the ice chunks to enter the boss area. Zapper Eel is the only female maverick of the group, but she provides a shocking experience for our maverick hunters. Zapper is one of the hardest mavericks to take out without her weakness, but if you use Sludge Mine, she's as pathetic as Toxic Seahorse from Megaman X3. Just plant a mine under her when she's about to jump. When she lands on it, the blast will shoot her up in the air. This is your chance to plant another. Keep doing this and she should fall without you taking a scratch. Now without her weakness, you still need to memorize the pattern of her electric shots. One will fire up, two will fire down, and one straight towards you. Sometimes she won't even fire that last one straight towards you and just dash at you, so be prepared to jump out of the way. When you defeat her, you get the shock beam. Now it's time to head to the hydro pump. You start this stage off in a wave rider. Time your jumps and avoid any obstacles that are thrown at you. This segment is quite similar to Volt Kraken from X5, Overdrive Ostrich from X2, and Metal Shark Player from X6, so just watch out for large gaps and boulders that will try to block your path. After you leap off the rider, enter the actual pump. Use the twister boost before you enter the waterfall and snag the heart tank. Once inside, you must climb up the waterfall while avoiding the fish that will shoot up and down trying to knock you off. Occasionally a blade fish will strike out of the water. Time your jumps, and when you get near the top, you will notice how small the platforms get. Once at the top, you will face the boss. This geyser Hippo. This guy packs quite a punch and is actually immune to the shock beam. The key to damaging Geyser is to wait until he shoots large pillars made of water. It is at this point that you must shoot the shock beam into the water, which will shock Geyser in the process as it travels through his water beam and into him. Geyser will sometimes drop down and slam into the ground. Dash out of the way since this attack can knock you off balance. When he uses his water beam as a whip, stay behind him. You'll get the Hydro Grappler. And now the last of the Maverick areas, the Lloyd Inferno. This industrial furnace is filled with many pits, shooting lava, and moving platforms. Throughout the level there will be multiple conveyor belts, each moving in their own direction. You can tell which way they are moving by the arrows on the side of each belt. Use the Hydro Grappler to latch onto the hooks. Swing up towards a large propane tank and take it out with a boomerang scythe. You have now uncovered the last light capsule. Step into the castle and obtain the ZX Buster Saber. You'll get the ZX Buster for X and the ZX Saber for 0. Head back down and onto a steel bridge with a large computer in the background. A huge wall of fire will shoot up and start to chase you. Take out any enemies that try to slow you down and remember to dash off the ledges so you don't fall into the lava. Use a twister boost near the large crane to get a life boost. Enter the door to face the final Maverick, Steam Bull. This boss is the prime example of all brawn and no brain. Use the Hydro Grappler to cool him down until he's stunned. Once stunned, nail him with a charge shot. Steam will stomp and cause large pillars of fire to shoot up. He'll also try to charge at you with his horns. Dash to the side and nail him from behind. With the last Maverick defeated, it's time to head back to HQ. Okay, now that you defeated all 8 Mavericks, you go back to HQ and speak to Zell. You can now reveal the location of Dynace, which is in the Divine Crater, a Maverick nest that wishes to crash into the planet and infect its core. With no time to lose, X and Zero head to the Divine Crater. Alright, so the Divine Crater is split into 3 segments. In the first segment, it starts off with both X and Zero on their riders trying to make their way into the base. Multiple enemies from Tornado Stage make a comeback along with the very rapid firing gun Berserk. Think of this part of the stage as a shooter. Just destroy everything in sight while avoiding large objects you can crash into. Once inside the actual base, a majority of the enemies you previously encountered will be ready to tear at you. There will also be large pillars of iron that will slam down. When they lift back up, slide underneath them and enter the door for a boss fight. Dynace spots the 2 Maverick hunters as soon as they enter the room. She tells them she has no business and prefers that they leave the crater. X and Zero state that as long as the Divine Crater is active, it is their problem and they must deal with it. Dynace laughs and claims that X and Zero should learn the truth before making bold actions. She draws her whip and the boss fight begins. Alright, now this time Dynace shares the same tactics as last time, only this time she's much quicker and her whip can zip all across the screen. Her weakness this time around is the fire rocket technique, which you got from Steam Bull. Wait for her to shoot her whip diagonally, then use the twister boost to dodge and zap her with a charge shot. Dynace will also spin her whip and have it entangle you. This can cause loads of damage, so try your best to avoid it. After Dynace is defeated, she will laugh at X and Zero. She states that they have everything misunderstood. She mocks her master, then explodes. Zell comes in transmission. He states that now that Dynace has been disposed of, it's time to deactivate the Divine Crater's membrane. Head on to the second segment. The second segment of the Divine Crater contains 8 capsules. Within each capsule is a Maverick that you have faced before. Simply wipe out all the Mavericks, and use their weaknesses, and you should take them all out in no time. There's really nothing else to say. Now with Divine Crater 3, this is the final stretch before reaching the Divine Crater's membrane. This level tests how fast you can switch between X and Zero on the fly. You will notice that the ground and ceiling will have both red and blue tiles. If the tile is blue, only X may touch it, and if red, only Zero can touch it. Touch the opposite color and it's a one-hit kill. Even if you dash and smack your head off the ceiling of the wrong color, it counts, so be careful. Eventually you will come to a segment with a large laser that will stream back and forth. Use the needle shield until the beam passes over, then dash to the exit. Climb a few ladders and take out some soldiers before entering the Divine Membrane. Inside the Divine Membrane, X and Zero are about to deactivate the core when it starts to glow. X and Zero are confused since Dynace, the original controller of the crater, has been disposed of. Both Zell and Surge arrive into the crater. Surge takes a few steps forward, and both X and Zero draw their weapons. Surge then collapses in a heap and his cape flies open, revealing multiple gashes. Zell draws a large laser spear and begins to laugh. Zero saw this coming but forced himself to look on the positive side. Zell tells X and Zero that now that Dynace is out of the picture, Zell finally has control of the Divine Crater once more. He thanks X and Zero for helping him achieve his goals. X asks how Surge was involved in all this. Zell chuckles and replies that both Surge and Dynace were meant to deliver Axel to the Divine Membrane to use his abilities to control the core. It was then that Dynace betrayed them both and used Axel for herself, and took hold of the Divine Crater. She then sent Mavericks out to take care of both Surge and Zell himself, but was unaware of X and Zero. Zell claims that he used you to trick Dynace and regain control of the membrane. Zell claims that Surge was merely a pawn that no longer has any use for him. He had plans of taking out both Surge and Dynace since the beginning. Zell now prepares to use Axel's energy to channel the membrane and send it into the planet's core. He reveals that it was Sigma who inspired him to put an end to Reploids and let Mavericks rule. X and Zero couldn't disagree more. They fused their XZ armor to turn into a new model. Armed with both a buster and a saber, Model XZ takes on Zell, who takes off his helmet, then sprouts blue wings. Alright, now in this battle, Zell will fly around the area shooting laser darts any chance he can get. Zell will sometimes fly to the upper right hand corner and toss his spear like a boomerang. Occasionally, Zell will fire energy spheres which go in a similar pattern, up, down, and middle. If Zell cackles, he will shoot bolts of lightning from the sky. His weakness is again the fire rocket, though if you manage to catch him in a corner, a few saber swipes should do just fine. But it's not over yet. Zell folds his wings and unleashes his inner machine. Final boss, Machine Zell. This boss shouldn't cause too much trouble, just as long as you stay clear of its missiles. Zell will fire a laser any chance he can get, and will even try to crush you by slamming his fist into the ground. Use the shock beam to stun him, then get in a few swipes with the saber. He may have a lot more HP, but if you time your strikes just right, you should take him out without taking too much damage. With Zell defeated, he claims that he was not the only one inspired by Sigma. He laughs and blows up in a massive explosion. Axel is freed and the Divine Crater begins to malfunction. The 3 Maverick Hunters hop aboard some riders and escape just before the Divine Crater is vanquished. X realizes that it's not the end, and even though Sigma is gone, he has already done his dirty work. X and Zero admit that this is just the beginning, and they have to stop the others who are inspired by Sigma's work.